Hello, everybody. Welcome to the weekend. It's Friday night here at the Pig Trail Nation Studios, and we got a nice slate of a weekend of games. If you're an Arkansas Razorback fan tonight, of course, we're going to be breaking down the Arkansas versus LSU baseball series, set to start here in just about an hour and a half, 6 p.m. I saw Loretta saying, what channel is it on? We're going to be on SEC Network, Loretta. So this game, as you can see, going to be played on SEC Network, Game 1. Thank you, Leland, for actually answering her question while we were queuing up here. Dwayne, hey, Nick, thank you for saying hi. Dwayne, how you doing? Let's go Hogs. Yeah, I'm sure that's a lot of people are going to be tuning in. It's going to be a really fun series. We're going to hear from LSU head coach Paul Mainieri about this Arkansas LSU series. It's always a really fun one, and he laid out some fun little trash talking yesterday. So we'll play that video for him, and we'll run through about what we can expect from Arkansas, who's throwing for LSU, the batting order, which has not been officially released yet, but we can kind of fill in the blanks of what's going to happen there. So again, this game, SEC Network, and on 6 p.m. tonight, and then this weekend is going to be kind of weird because the weather is rolling into Baton Rouge on Sunday. There's big chance for rain, so there could be a potential for another doubleheader. You kind of get used to this if you're a Razorback fan, playing into doubleheaders in baseball. They've done it quite a few times this season. Lance saying, go Hogs from Auburn, Alabama. Leland saying he's from Louisiana. Donna, thank you for joining in. Carl, watching from Siloam, how you doing? Scott saying woo pig suey. Matt, watching from Alex Box Stadium in Baton Rouge. Oh, Matt's at the game. That's awesome, Matt. That's going to be a fun one. Are you going to all three or just game one? How many games, Matt, are you going to be watching this weekend? Oh, and also this might be even more prevalent to you, Matt, if you're at the stadium, because there's a lot of rain coming in on Sunday, as I was mentioning. Could be another doubleheader on Saturday. The games are scheduled right now. It's Saturday for 6. Let me pull up exactly the schedule, because if it does get pushed, if that Sunday game they decide to bring back to Saturday, you probably look at the standard schedule that they've been doing, which is kind of a 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. game. With about an hour to 2 hours in between the two. So for right now, it's scheduled as 6 p.m. today, 6:30 Saturday, Sunday at 2. But that could obviously be moved. We don't know yet. A lot of people tuning in. Hi, Ted. How you doing? Matt says he's going to all three. Enjoy it. It's going to be a really fun series. Kitty coming in from Omaha. I think you say she's watching from. Pam here saying, go Hogs, who pig suey. Madeline, thank you for tuning in. Glenda, Kenneth, start time, Kenneth, right on your screen right there, 6 p.m. SEC Network. Jimmy tuning in. Leroy, so from Monroe. Thank you, everybody. That's a lot of people. This might be some of the most we've had in a little bit. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I love to hear where everyone's watching from. That's always so fun for me to see where Razorback Red touches what corners of the country. So again, let's dive in a little bit. We're going to hear from LSU head coach here in just a second, but I want to run through quickly just what we can see off the preliminary parts of this. Patrick Wicklander going to get the ball for Arkansas in game 1. He kind of got out of the rotation, not by any fault of his own, just by short rest on weeks when we saw him at the Texas A&M series. He kind of got he had to pitch a lot, so he was removed from the starting lineup for a little bit. Right back into game 1 now. Matt, you're welcome for the shout out, man. I appreciate you. Thank you. I enjoy those games. Hopefully you have some rain gear and umbrella. So Patrick Wicklander been dominant on the mound all season. You can see when this ticker rolls by, you'll see his stats here: 2-1 on the season. Got a good ERA, a lot of strikeouts. Look at when he comes around. His strikeout to walks, the ratio is really good. Mark saying watching from Mississippi, looking for a strong start tonight from Wicklander. Yeah, I think that's your guy right now. That's one of your best pitchers in the bullpen. Sure, David Horn's really happy to have him back, especially in a series going into this one where it's always a really good rivalry. So Blake saying woo pig sweet from Columbus, Ohio. Thank you, Blake. Welcome in. Appreciate it. William back on it. Denton, Texas. William had we were playing a little trivia on yesterday, and William had a great question. I got stumped by it, and I had a cheat sheet. So William, thank you for tuning in again. Scott from Walton Beach, or Fort Walton Beach, excuse me. Yeah, that's something fun I like to do on Thursdays, is try and do some Arkansas trivia, see how much you know, and it also helps me learn. We were talking about NFL draft yesterday. If that's what you're kind of tuning in for, right before we roll into this baseball, second round, going to be coming up here, 7 o'clock Eastern time, or Eastern Central time, excuse me. Rounds 2 and 3. Likely not going to see any Arkansas Razorbacks taken tonight. Saturday is the big day for Arkansas. Felipe Franks, Jonathan Marshall, Rakeem Boyd. Those rounds 4 through 7 are going to be the sweet spot. We'll be back on here tomorrow. Once the first one gets taken, I'm going to hop right back on here on a Facebook Live in the morning or whenever they get selected. And we will chat and react to where Franks, Boyd, Marshall go, and we can have some fun with that. Mike saying, "Go Hogs." Thank you, Mike. Let's go and jump into a soundbite I have really quickly. A little trash talking from LSU head coach Paul Mainieri. Obviously has been in a lot of these rivalry games with Arkansas, has loved every minute of it, considers Dave Van Horn a close friend, but had to throw a little kindling on the fire here yesterday.
Gone by, I always felt like strategically I coached against the clone. He used to love to hit and run a lot and steal bases, and we used to do, really match wits a lot. His pitchers strike everybody out, and he hits a bunch of home runs, and he stands there like a potted plant and just lets his athletes do everything. No, I say that tongue in cheek, of course. He's a great manager, and he does just a super job.
Standing there like a potted plant, he says, obviously referring to Dave Van Horn, laughing. He says in tongue-in-cheek, because he said in that same interview that he considers Van Horn a close friend after all these years coaching together. Says he's moved away from that hit-and-run strategy more, as you heard him say. He's just got athletes on the team that can hit a lot of home runs. I'm looking at Matt Goodhart. He has 11 this year. Brady Slavens has 10. Robert Moore has 10. So they lead the country in home runs with 74. They lead the country in walks with 240. And this Arkansas offense is producing and not going to be in. You know what? In this series, LSU is also 4th in the nation in home runs. So if you like offense, you might have a really fun series. Matt, you might want to sit in the outfield, man, because you're going to be catching a lot of long balls in 60 home runs for LSU in 40 games. Obviously, Arkansas 74 and I think 39 games. So it should be a very fun offensive game. Ernest saying, "Go Hogs." Mike saying the same thing. Welcome in everybody who's just watching. We are tuning in. If you're tuning in, we're going over this series, Arkansas versus LSU tonight. D Miller saying we'll be watching from Texas. Awesome. If you want to watch it, SEC Network. The next 2 games are going to be on SEC Network Plus. So make sure it won't be on television for the next 2 games. Kind of a trend that's been happening recently where they get 1 game on national TV and then the next 2 get bumped to online. So let's just go quick into what we're breaking down. This is the starting pitching rotation that we're going to expect from Arkansas. Obviously, we know Patrick Wicklander going to be throwing in game 1. Then the same type of sequence we see Peyton Paulette usually snuggles into that 2 spot for game 2. Then game 3, same thing as last series, to be determined. Dave Van Horn in his press conference earlier in the week said these 3 names, Lyle Lockhart, Zebulon Vermillion, are the 2 he's really looking at as who could start game 3. And then Caleb Bolden seems to kind of be on the back burner of a guy that could be available on Sunday as well. Or if rain comes through, Saturday's doubleheader. That's going to really mix up things, and that's why I think Dave Van Horn doesn't have a starting pitcher for the 3rd game, because you never know who you're going to need to use and how many in a matchup like this, especially when you're hitting so many home runs from both sides. Brittany saying, "Let's go Hogs," watching from Lodi. Thank you, Brittany. Hopefully everyone's going to enjoy the series tuning in. Again, 6 o'clock on the SEC Network. I haven't seen a question. We usually do get a question each time about Connor Noland. I will say this. He is ready for this series. Dave Van Horn says Noland is ready out of the bullpen for this series against LSU. We don't know when or how he will be used. I don't think it's going to be that much in terms of this is going to be his first time back since having battling a really long injury with arm soreness. So, but Connor Noland, Dave Van Horn said in practice this week has been throwing some of his best stuff. He's been really impressed with him and his pitches this week, as well as in that same conversation, Cole Ramage. So those are two guys that it seems like Dave Van Horn's going to, just based on the practice that Dave Van Horn might be throwing in throughout this series. So could see long-awaited return of Connor Noland, and I'm sure that'll make everyone in these comments very happy. Ernest saying, why not? They are number one. I'm not sure what comment you're referring to. Maybe it's someone else. Someone asked. Yeah, Hogs, number one. Unanimous number one in all 6 major baseball polls. So, number one, Arkansas. And you know, the fun fact about this is Arkansas has not won a series in Baton Rouge since 2004. 17 years. It was Dave Van Horn's second season, the head coach of Arkansas, have not won a series in Baton Rouge since then. And they swept way back in 2004. And Alex Box Stadium has been a tough place to play for Arkansas. So, you know, if you're the number one in 6 polls, you're the unanimous number one in the country. LSU has been struggling this season. 19-10 at home, 25-15 overall, 6-12 in conference play. This is the time to capitalize. You want to end that 17-year drought, right? So that's the one big storyline I think coming into this too, is just the history of these two teams. LSU leads the series 70 to, I think this is the 109th, 10th, and 11th time these guys are going to play. I can't remember the exact number of how they've split those games, but LSU has won 70 plus of those meetings. William saying, why doesn't the SEC network use the alternate channel more? There are a ton of games on weekends they could air. I agree, right? It's tough to bump the number one team in the nation to the computer. That's got to be a tough thing to do every week. You think, at least we think so here at Arkansas, especially for the fans of, we want to see these guys playing on television. SEC Plus is where the next 2 games are going to be played. Good news in softball, though. If you're a softball fan, we're going to touch on that in just a few minutes. They're going to be happy because they're on national TV all 3 games this weekend at LSU. Yeah, Tom, it could be about the money. They just want you to pay for ESPN3. That's not a bad assumption. Jeff saying, cheering on the Hogs from Columbia, South Carolina, enemy territory. Of course, had a great series with Arkansas just the other week. So, it's going to be a fun one. Arkansas tonight, LSU kicking off at 6 o'clock. Wicklander throwing game 1. And the pitcher that they're facing, this guy is really good. I have notes on him. I have paper everywhere. His name's Landon Marceau, which is really funny because you think about the Go Tigers. You know how like the Go Tigers, it's G-U or G-A. Sorry, G-E-A-U-X. See, I was never good at spelling. I never went to a Scripps National Spelling Bee, not even close. Probably couldn't even have won in my first grade classroom. But his last name has that same ending, that E-A-U-X. His name's Landon Marceau. He's a projected 3rd or 4th round pick in the MLB draft. Has thrown like 70 strikeouts this season. Has a 94, 92 mile an hour fastball, so he lacks a little bit of velocity, but this kid is very good from what I've been seeing and reading. MLB's has a great projection on him. Going to be a big top pick to be kind of a projected 4th or 5th rotation guy in the major league. So really good curveball. Going to be a really tough guy for Arkansas to hit tonight. So it could be a really good pitching battle with Marceau and Wicklander going back and forth. Maybe we don't see all those home runs that we normally are accustomed to. One thing I do want to bring up as right before we kind of switch to softball is capacity. The one thing about this series that's really cool is LSU is opening up full capacity in their arena. More than 10,000 fans can go to this series. So Matt, if you're still watching, it should be an electric atmosphere. I'm sure they'll pack that place. And, you know, I'm probably sure, you know, I bet you Robert Moore is not going to be too unhappy with having as many fans as he wants, because anytime that man gets heckled, those balls are soaring over the fence. So maybe that's not the worst thing for Arkansas to have a big cheering section against them as LSU. 100% capacity. The first time this weekend they're opening it up for their athletic program. So it should be a really fun atmosphere at Alex Box Stadium. Lance, who gets the first home run of the night? I put my money on Moore. That's me, but you got Goodhart, Slavens. You got a lot of power in that lineup. Moore is going to be probably batting in that sixth spot. Dave Van Horn liked moving him down in the rotation because of the fact that he can produce runs in the middle of the lineup, bumping Zach Gregory up. Goodhart could see some of that 2-3 hole action. Sometimes he's even had chances to lead off, but I think that's kind of going to be the order of where I think Moore will produce the best, and I think that's who gets the first home run of the night. I don't know. Put in the comments who you think is going to get the first homer. Patsy saying, "Go Hogs" from Oak Grove. Matt joining it. Oh yeah, that's Matt excited for it. I would be too. This is a great series. Kind of jealous. I'm sure everyone's jealous of you in this. So as we are approaching kind of the 15-minute mark, let's go to softball quickly. Switch over, because we also have a series against LSU in softball. And this one is on ESPNU starting Saturday. They play Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And the first game's on ESPNU. The next two games are going to be on the SEC network. So all of these games for Arkansas softball getting televised. LSU, the number 14 team in the nation. Obviously, Arkansas, pretty dang good as well. Braxton Burnside, guaranteed to get a home run. Yeah, William, I think you're right about that. A Brax bomb, as they're being called more and more often. One of the best home run hitters in the NCAA. It's been really cool to see her season. Obviously now holds the single season record at Arkansas for most home runs in a season. She's just had an amazing year in her first time back since transferring from Missouri, hometown product out of Paragould. So she's had just a great time playing. And you know what? Alyssa Orange did an amazing Women Wednesday on Braxton Burnside. You can go watch on our website right now. That is really just outlines as her journey to Arkansas and what she's been able to accomplish here in just such a short amount of time and how much impact she's had on this program. But this game is going to be Saturday, 6 p.m. ESPNU, and we run into that doubleheader thing again. You know, if it's raining in Baton Rouge on Sunday, they might push those Sunday game and have a doubleheader on Monday. So you could see a Saturday and then a doubleheader Monday, kind of have a break day in between there. For Arkansas softball. So you could see a doubleheader Saturday for baseball, doubleheader Monday for softball. It's going to be a lot of action packed into one area. Track is at LSU for the LSU Invitational this weekend. I know we've touched on that this week. It's going to be a lot of Arkansas weekend, Arkansas red out there in or Cardinal. I learned that's Cardinal. It's the official color. So it could be really fun out there. And one thing that we've been waiting for this whole week finally came today. The NCAA softball postseason releasing its host sites for regionals, and Arkansas is named one of those 20 host sites. There was always some little speculation that after the NCAA came out against Arkansas, the legislation passed on the transgender athletics, where transgender athletes cannot compete in anything other than their biological assignment. I'm not sure if that's the right wording. I had to go back and read the press release, but they can only play in their biological sports. The NCAA came out with a statement saying it would revisit its championship and regional sites. And of course, Arkansas usually has a few of them. This was one of them, the kind of the first domino we were going to see drop. So far, Arkansas named one of the 20 host sites, but the NCAA will narrow that down to 16 sites for regionals during that selection show on Sunday, May 16th on ESPN2. But as Tara Talmadge and I were talking about, if Arkansas wins the SEC, hard to think that they would ever be bumped out of one of those 16 sites for regionals. So as it stands right now, by the NCAA release today, Arkansas is one of the host sites, or potentially one of the predetermined host sites that can happen, that can host a regional. This is just for regionals. Obviously, championship's going to be in Oklahoma City, but this is good news if you're an Arkansas fan, because this could also be a precursor to baseball regionals, super regionals that would happen in Arkansas. So maybe this is a little bit of foreshadowing and good news that the NCAA has not pulled any events so far. We'll wait to hear those any other news, but they have not pulled an event out of Arkansas based on that whole kind of scuffle across that legislation. And if you want to read the full story on this NCAA postseason announcement, you can head over to our app, hogville.net, or our website, nwahomepage.com. We have the full statement there on the NCAA, so you can read in more in depth about that decision. Also check out the statements that led up to this too. I think that's important to know the backstory behind all of it, that we can't just get in. I mean, that's a whole discussion that could last a whole another 30 minutes on another Facebook Live. So I know Mike Irwin's touched on it earlier in the week, and that there's a lot that goes into this decision. And so far, Arkansas is now named one of the 20 host sites. So you can make sure to catch all that content on our Hogville app as we start to narrow down and get ready to watch some baseball. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. I hope everyone really enjoys watching this game. 6 o'clock, so we're just about an hour away now on SEC Network. And I think it's going to be an exciting one with a lot of offense. Patrick Wicklander getting the ball in game one. Hopefully you see a lot of homers out there. Matt, if you're still watching, it should be a really fun game. So we'll be back on here tomorrow as we are looking at NFL draft. Make sure to tune in then. And also we have a lot more tonight. If you can't catch these games tonight, we're going to have them right on our shows and a little extra previews at 6 o'clock in your Pig Trail Nation reports. So make sure to tune into those, the things we couldn't get to, and also highlights tonight after the games. If you miss them, they'll be right there on your local station. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. Have a great and safe weekend.